I expected someone who at least is familiar with the sector to be the PS education. That's what I expected. But imagine that right now, when we were having all these conversations about CBC, this guy right now being the PS for education was an ambassador somewhere in Pakistan. Just when we want to do the implementation, he was the PS, immigrations and everything else. So remote to the sector. But you know what? The PS for education, the biggest spender of Kenya's budget, has to come from Rift Valley.
Let's put
that is the criteria. That is the only criteria that we are applying. And that is why we refuse to have conversations with people who are pretending to have conversations with people, but they are mapping out places for where they want to eat. And they have no intention whatsoever to do the right thing.
When I listened to that lady speak, I asked myself, what is the intention of President William Ruto as far as governance of this country is concerned? What is he up to? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to analyze this mistake on this video here, but before I take you through, kindly if this is the first time you're watching these videos, kindly take a second or two to subscribe. And then, for those who always want to reach me out and also support the channel, my number is always here. Come through for me, and kindly, if you have an idea that you want me to analyze here, share it with me, even if you just comment on the comment section. But sometimes I can miss it on the comment section, so please just directly text me even if it's on WhatsApp. Let me give you 2 seconds to subscribe before I proceed. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let me proceed. Now, when I listen to that lady speak, I feel strongly that William Ruto has so many weaknesses, or probably his motive is not good for this country. What do I mean by that? This education docket has been having someone who was there. And Kipsang was always in this docket during Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure and also partly in William Ruto's tenure. He was therefore in the introduction of the CBC, and it was also during the 844 system at Uhuru Kenyatta's time. So if there's someone who understands what is generally going on in the education docket, it is Sang. But we did not see that consideration at all. Why? William Ruto removed someone who understands and brought a clueless person in the same docket. And then we tell ourselves, in this kind of a times when the country is struggling in terms of the education, how do you bring an amateur, someone who has completely not been there, and you let someone who has been there to go? That was one of the poorest mistakes William Ruto has made under the broad-based government. Because there's no way you can bring an amateur to run a huge docket of that kind. Apparently, that is not the only docket that William Ruto has done the same thing. You get someone is pushing UHC, for instance, Susan Akumincha, pushing it, and then you reach a point, you get rid of her, and you bring someone else. In less than a year, the other one has also gone. You bring again another person. It comes to happen that the people are coming in and leaving. They start something, they leave it somewhere in between. Another one comes in, takes on the same thing, goes somewhere, and then upon reaching somewhere, this person again is gotten rid of. So you realize the entire ministry, it is confused. Look at what has been happening in health. Until Mutahi Kahiga had to come out and tell President William Ruto, let Duale stay. It is not that Duale is an angel. It is because replacement of people in that docket, it confuses the entire ministry in relation to even what is happening in the counties. So therefore, it's good to have the consistency from the members of the cabinet, where we are having the same cabinet, running the same docket for the right time. So you find that they have so many projects they're implementing, but they implement halfway, this person leaves. The other cabinet secretary comes in without even proper time for studying what is happening there. This gentleman simply gets into that docket and starts doing his own things. So that is very wrong. If you remember during the sports time, when we had Ababu Namwamba seemed to be understanding what was happening. Despite some programs that he was bringing on board were failing, but the fact is Ababu Namwamba had a huge understanding on what was happening in that docket. But he removed it and brought the lazy one. Now he's moving across the country. He doesn't even understand what projects were in place. We cannot have ceremonial cabinet secretaries. We want people who who can come to that docket and bring innovation, bring new things, make that place run smoothly. It's not an issue of having a friend in that docket, for heaven's sake. For heaven's sake. If you can't bring someone who has been there, who understands, at least bring an expert. An expert. I saw that William Ruto had gotten it right by bringing someone like Baraza, who was there before, Nancy. The lady who was before Duale, who was under the docket of health. Despite that she was weak, she understood what was happening. When a doctor comes to the streets and say, we don't have dialysis kits or dialysis machines, at least she understands what a dialysis machine means, how much it can cost, where it can be found, and why it is necessary. Now you bring Duale. He's telling the people of the county government different things from what they think or what they know. We cannot have such a kind of a confusion in each and every time. But I came to ask myself, why is William Ruto doing that? Why is William Ruto doing? Number one is that he does not care. If he cares, we cannot have this kind of reshuffling that are unnecessary. That's number one. Number two, I feel it's the huge budget allocations in some of these dockets that makes William Ruto be so much interested in them. Like education, there's a huge allocation. So he must have someone in trust on that docket. And that's a big question that is being raised. You have a cabinet secretary who is there, but below him is not able to do anything because there's someone else William Ruto is using. And that has not been confessed by not Moses Kuria, but by many other leaders who have left government. That is wrong. We need to have people who at least are not interested on William Ruto's benefits, but generally to make the public sector better. Also, I think it's business in government. People want tenders right, left, and center. So the person must be the one in a docket. The person in a docket must be the one who is able to support some of these motives that they have in government. Everyone is trading with government. Tenders right, left, and center. And there's nowhere where money has been pumped, literally, like in William Ruto's government. Money is borrowed, then put in some projects. Others is taken from Kenyans in some form of taxes, huge amounts of money. So therefore, they must be having strategic people in various dockets so that the money can be well used and probably the tenders be given to the right people. And that has been the major thing, because if you look at where money is allocated, William Ruto strategically put his people there. Look at Kipchumba Murkomen. The docket is taking. Poorly performing cabinet secretary, but he kept on being recycled. He's always being recycled in various dockets. You find him in sports, doing nothing. You go to transport, no road, not even a single road he launched. You find him now is in interior, problems all over. Not even single small problem that has been handled well professionally. So in a nutshell, we are speaking here that we need leaders who at least put the interest of Kenyans at heart. It cannot be about tenders. These guys are billionaires. There's no one, there's no friend of William Ruto right now as we speak who is not a billionaire. Also, lastly, I think it is lack of seriousness. Seriousness in the nature that a government must be taken like a serious thing, because this is holding to people's lives in their hands. Why? If the security fails, people die. If the education fails, people probably are going jobless, or maybe students are not getting the proper education. A future is being killed there. So if the environment goes wrong, then this country will experience so many disasters like flooding and stuff, and long times of drought. So therefore, it has to be gotten right by the government. The people in government have to come out clearly and do things with a lot of seriousness. I don't know what's your take. I don't know what's your observation about these various reshuffles, various things that are happening in government, or maybe appointment of people who are clueless. But on the comment section, you have an opportunity to share with me on what you think. See you next time for more videos. My name is Abel Muku.